Hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night. I don't know why I started that way. It's Friday morning here. I took the day off today because I realized this week that I needed some time. That's what I realized. It's the last Friday in January today. It's been a very, very busy January. Work has been going like crazy. I hired 6 new souls into our team this month, so I had to interview quite a few folks and make big decisions and set some strategy, build dashboards so that my team can effectively measure performance and keep track of all the folks that we are tasked with leading. It's been a big month, and on Tuesday I woke up and realized I'm feeling really sluggish, or Wednesday I think, really sluggish, and my body was, I know when my body's moving through things. I don't know if you have experienced that in your life or if you've built that awareness in, but anyway, it's a very long explanation for taking Friday off, which I actually don't have to give you, but there you go. I took today off and I slept in. I just finished my coffee and my breakfast and had a little dance party to some classic rock in the kitchen. And I sat down to read. One of my favorite things to do, it feels so luxurious and abundant, is to sit in my favorite chair with my cup of coffee and read. I just love it. Like it's the thing I dream about. If I imagine like what's a perfect day like of just like relaxing and feeling just letting go to the day, and that's always the start. So I'm reading this fascinating book right now. You may or may not have heard of it. It's called The Mountain Is You. I spotted it actually on Manifestation Babe's Instagram account. She had just taken a picture and was sharing the book and took a couple screenshots in the book. And I'm like, ooh, that looks interesting. I want to read it. So I ordered it online from a retailer in Nova Scotia, which is super fun that I can find retailers. I use something called the Shop app, if you're familiar with it, which I'm just telling you because it's kind of cool that you can find small retailers through an app like this. And she sent me the book. So I've been reading through the book, and I've had a topic in mind for probably about 3 months that I've been wanting to bring to the podcast, and I've just never quite found that space of wanting to sit down and talk about it. Now, originally, the topic that I was going to bring forward was something along the lines of a title like Showering Naked in Public. I'm going to get to why I'm talking about that, but we're going to tie into it. If you've been listening for a little while, you know that I have been on a bit of an experiment. I don't know, I think I started in June, which puts me about halfway through my experiment. And the experiment that I started, if you aren't familiar with it, was leaning into trust, surrender, and radical self-love. And these are concepts that are taught in personal growth books and manifestation by manifestation coaches and everything else. And I understood it from a logical level, but I didn't quite get it on an embodied level. And I'm like, well, I'm gonna give myself a year and just experiment with it and see what I learn. In the same time, in the same vein, I have been leaning into the radical self-love and appreciation of my physical body. I mentioned before, I'd been carrying more weight than I would like. By no means am I fat or obese. In fact, many people would probably look at me and go, she could lose a few pounds, but she's pretty healthy and she's very fit. And, like I wasn't like I was dragging my ass around somewhere, except for on days I'm tired. But it was something that was present on my mind. I wasn't feeling great in how I fit in my clothes. And I just generally wanted to release this extra weight. And I knew that I was holding on to this weight for a reason, but I hadn't fully unpacked what that reason was. So as I'm going through, started my experiment, in particular with the filter of radical self-love, I knew that I had to find a way to love my body exactly as it was. And in the true way of loving my body, right? It's very different when we're like, I love my body, and I'll love it even more when I get to be this size or this weight, or my muscles look this big or this defined or whatever else. That's what we are very used to seeing, and that's in a way kind of what we're taught. But I knew that wasn't the answer. I knew that wasn't going to get me where I was going, because that's conditional love. I know that radical self-love is unconditional. It's the kind of love that, when you may or may not have experienced this in your life, when someone can look at you at your absolute worst, when you have snot running out of your nose and you've completely duffed it and just everything is burning around you, and they still love you just for being you. That is unconditional love. It's not common. We like to think that it's common. We like to think that our parents give us unconditional love. We like to think that maybe our partners, our romantic partners, or our friends give us unconditional love. But it actually takes a degree of growth and self-awareness in order for a person to be able to give unconditional love. And we are most hard on ourselves. That's not news to you. I know that as I say that, you're like, yeah, Amy, you're right. I am the most hard on myself. We are most hard on ourselves because we're taught that that's how we need to get to where we want to be. It's not okay to accept yourself as you are, because if you accept yourself as you are, basically means you've given up. It means you're not going after things anymore. So you're determined to, fix or tweak or whatever to keep going. So let me come back to the book. So I'm reading the book. I'm almost exactly halfway through, slightly into the second half, based on the amount of pages to the left and to the right of my finger holding the space of my page right now. Again, the book is called The Mountain Is You. Highly, highly recommend buying it if you're at all interested in doing some learning about yourself and some personal growth. So I'm going to read a section for you, and the title of the section is called Letting Go of Unrealistic Expectations. And this short section that I'm going to read is actually what sang in my brain this morning as I'm like, I got to go on the podcast and talk about this. So, letting go of unrealistic expectations. It is not brave to say that you love your body only after you've contorted it to precisely what you want it to look like. It is not brave to say that you don't care about possessions when you have access to everything in the world. It is not brave to say that you aren't motivated by money when you have enough of it. When you only find happiness and peace after you've fixed every flaw, mastered every challenge, and are living decidedly in the after part of the picture of your life, you have not resolved anything. You have only reinforced the idea that you cannot be okay until everything is perfect. The truth is that you do not change your life when you fix every piece and call that healing. You change your life when you start showing up exactly as you are. You change your life when you become comfortable with being happy here, even if you do want to go forward. You change your life when you can love yourself even though you don't look exactly the way you want to. You change your life when you are principled about money and love and relationships, when you treat strangers as well as you do your CEO, and when you manage $1,000 the same way you would $10,000. You change your life when you start doing the truly scary thing, which is showing up exactly as you are. I need a little mic drop. Although if I throw my mic on the floor, it's not going to be good for a mic. As I read this morning, I had just like this river of feeling through my body, knowing, yeah, that's, and suddenly it was in text form what I have been moving towards and practicing over the last 6 or 7 months. And not even just 6 or 7 months. I mean, really, it's the journey of my life. It's just been a more intentional focus on that letting go and that fully accepting who I am. It is scary as hell to show up as we really are. Because so long as we're wearing a mask, so long as we're trying to show up as the world thinks that we should be, even if the world says, I'm not really digging what you're bringing, it doesn't hurt that much because you know that it's not really yourself. You're playing a part, right? But if you show up as who you actually really are, and then the world or a person or whatever rejects you, that hurts. That's scary as fuck, because now the truth of who you are has been rejected. Very different than this facade that you put on being rejected. It's very scary to lean into that and to, first of all, just practice showing up as who you are, because we're so used to showing the world, showing the people around us, the filtered version of us, the version that we know they are okay with. So it's hard to, first of all, let go of that, right? We're so used to playing a part. But then to also let go of that, try to step into this real version of you, knowing that people might not like what it is that they see and not want you to be that way. That's hard. I had a fascinating conversation with a really dear friend of mine yesterday who has been on a weight release journey as well, and actually introduced me to the program that I've been using. And it's been fun to share the journey of our weight release together. And my friend talked about how as they've been releasing weight, people around them, they got to a certain point, people around them were like, okay, but you're done now, right? Because you should be done now. And it's so fascinating, because if you don't have the self-awareness, you're going to think, oh, they just, they think I'm being unhealthy, which is maybe where the concern is coming from. Folks will mask that as I'm concerned for your health, you're releasing weight, you're becoming very slender, and I'm worried that you're going into like an unhealthy state of weight loss. But what's actually happening below the surface is that you are challenging the version of you that exists in their mind. As you continue to develop and let go and heal and grow and fully embody the full version of yourself that you are, everybody around you is now also challenged to have to change something that they're very comfortable with. And it's a very interesting lesson. It's something that I actually learned very, very early in my 20s, not for fun and not because I wanted to. It was not the most exciting learning ever. But in my 20s, I realized how miserable I was, and I realized that I was trying so hard to fit in the hopes that my family would love and accept me. And I began to realize that was never going to happen. It just was never going to happen. And I had to have a real talk with myself about what did I want, and would I be willing to do the scary thing and just be who I am and allow everybody else to not like me. And what helped in a way, which sounds really like sad, but what helped me in a way is the fact that I already felt like my family didn't like me. So it was lose-lose either way. They already didn't like who I was. So if I changed who I was and they still didn't like who I was, I'm actually no further behind, right? But the possibility of being able to say, even if they don't like who I am, I might like who I am. That was really pivotal for me. So I had to learn how to let go of this hope that as I became more of who I am, that the people around would accept and enjoy being around me. And that's hard, especially I think the further you on in life, maybe the joyful thing is that I did it in my 20s. So I didn't have, 40 years or 50 years of friendships that were sort of hinged on this person that people believe me to be. And I've reinvented my life a number of times over. But that's really what people are saying. When you're going through a change and they're not comfortable with it, they'll say it to you in a way that they sound like they're concerned, because they are. They're people who love you. But actually what's happening is below the surface is you're challenging this comfort zone that they have. You exist as their friend who is unsuccessful, and so they can be better than you, right? I have a great job, and my friend Jim really has struggled for money all his life, but he's such a great guy. But if Jim suddenly became super successful and became a millionaire, all of a sudden it challenges like, oh, but wait a minute, now Jim's more successful than me? Wait, that can't be okay. That can't be okay, because now it's challenging versions of ourselves. I feel like I've gone a little bit off the path here. So, talking back about radical self-love and tying in my showering naked in public, because you may have forgotten about it, or maybe you didn't. You're like, Amy, when are you going to talk about this? So, I don't know if I've mentioned before, but I started swimming a little over a year ago, lap swimming at pools in Calgary. And just as a way to, I wanted to try some different kind of exercise. At the time, we were still, I should say at the time, we're still in COVID. So, whatever. But I didn't want to have a gym membership, and gyms were closed all the time anyway. It was winter, so running outside wasn't really super on my list. It's cold, it's dark, it's all those things. I was getting really tired of running on the treadmill in the basement and just staring at the wall. And I work from home, so then exercising from home and really never ever leaving the house was also not that great for my mental well-being. And my boyfriend had been swimming for a while and he loved it. So I reached out to friends and said, hey, would you like to try experiment with me and let's go see if we like this swimming thing. So my friend was totally down. Off we went. When I started swimming, of course it's public pools, and so there's showers right, in the change room and everything. And historically, because this is what we're taught, in particular as women, to be ashamed of our bodies and to hide them. If you look like, I don't know, Scarlett Johansson or Kate Upton or whatever, fine, you can show off your body. But if you don't look like that, if you're not like this perfect shape and this perfect, super in fit, whatever else, you have some random flaw in your body, you better hide that shit because nobody wants to see it. So we started swimming, and there's no shower curtains on the showers at the pool that we started swimming at. And I'm like, well, that's kind of awkward, but okay, I guess here we go. And it took me a long time to kind of get used to it. But my friend who I went swimming with, she's always had she's just had this confidence in herself, which has always really impressed me. And she's so blasé about things, which I just love and have always thought, man, I would love to get there someday. And so we get to the change room and she's just naked. She's finished, she's getting dressed, she's drying off. She's not hiding under a towel. We're having a conversation. She's totally fine with it. I'm feeling kind of awkward because I'm like, are we allowed to talk to each other about, whatever plans are going on Friday night when neither of us is wearing underwear? That seems weird. But I started challenging myself. I started asking questions and challenging the thoughts that were coming up around why I thought this had to be weird and uncomfortable. Why did I think this was unacceptable? And I started paying attention to the conversations that other women were having in the change room as well. And over time, I got to the point where I felt totally comfortable showering naked in a group setting, in a place where anybody could walk by and there I was in the shower, was naked. And then subsequently being in the change room and getting dressed and not hiding under a towel or trying to hide in a corner or something like that to get dressed. What's fascinating to me is that as I was practicing this in this really isolated area of my life, it's just related to swimming and it's purely just related to the 20 minutes after I'm out of the pool before I'm dressed and gone home, is that it actually started to affect other areas of my life. Some of the people that were on my team at the time were saying, Amy, you're always so confident. I would like to learn that. I said, I had to learn that. I had to build that into myself. One of the things I've been working on is learning how to shower naked in public. And they were like, I'm sorry, what? So I told them about my journey, about how I've been learning to become comfortable with being just in the buff around other people and not needing to posture, not needing to make excuses to myself in my mind, like not putting conditions on it, but just unconditionally allowing myself to be myself. So this confidence trickled out into other things. It helped me gain the promotion that I received about 5 months ago. It's helped me coach and guide and lead some really powerhouse people and challenge folks who in the past would have terrified the fuck out of me. This confidence that I gained from this experiment of, well, let's just see what it's like, influenced all areas of my life. And I now lead a team where I have 4 women identifying souls on my team, all very confident, independent individuals. Let me correct. All very independent, very intelligent, very accomplished individuals, but everybody's still struggling with their own version of confidence and not knowing how to build that. And so what a unique opportunity for me now to be able to align with them and help them grow. So how does this all tie back to my experiment of self-love, radical self-love? When I started the journey, even before I actually started the experiment, when I started swimming and I was practicing this, being okay with showering in the buff, and honestly, I would come home from my swim and my boyfriend would say, "How was your swim?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, it was amazing. I did X number of laps in this many minutes. And I'm just going to say, I felt totally comfortable showering naked." And he would laugh because I don't think boys have the same, they don't have the same experience in this regard. I learned to my shock that in the guys' change room at the pool, it's like a hallway with shower knobs. Like he was stunned to know there were stalls. He's like, "I'm sorry, there are walls between your shower?" I'm like, "Yeah." So we don't have shower curtains. He's like, "We don't even have walls." Like, it was just, just like, okay, so there's just 20 guys naked swinging their things around in one hallway. He's like, "Yeah, basically." I'm like, "Huh, okay, interesting. Had no idea." And then another pool we went to actually had shower curtains, which he thought he was like, "Boy, that's really luxurious," So as I was going through this journey and practicing this, like, just kind of understanding what my brain was saying and what this looked like as I was being in the shower and in the change room and in the experiment. And then 6 months later, fully diving into this experiment of radical self-love, what I began to realize is that I have an amazing body. It's such an amazing machine. We have this perfect version that we've been sold about what bodies need to look like. They have to be completely unblemished skin. If you're a woman, you need to have like curves, but in the right places and in the correct proportion. Your thighs can't touch, and your boobs need to be like this perfect whatever C cup, but your waist has to be itty bitty, and you have to be able to look amazing in jeans, and your butt has to be big enough to fill those jeans out, and on and on and on and on and on. And as I started working on this and realizing I have to find a way to love my body no matter what, because it's really an amazing, amazing tool that is available for me. But that's hard because it flies in the face of what we're taught. I think I'm starting to pander, so I'm going to wrap it up. I'm also watching. It's 23 minutes and 43 seconds right now. So if you're still with me, thank you for hanging with me. So to summarize, how are you trying to fit yourself into a perfect version of yourself right now? What is the thing in your life that you're like, when I am this way or have this thing or am presented in this way, then I'm going to be like, yeah, I'm cool. Things are great. I'm happy with my life. I'm happy with what's going on. What is the thing? Or what are the multitude of things in your life, right? Maybe it's, when I finally get that promotion and I'm making an extra $15,000, then I'm going to be so happy because, man, I will have made it. And then I can really start focusing on my body image, and I can start focusing on whatever, like finding a relationship or building a healthy relationship with the one person that I have, or what have you. What is the thing? Because so long as you're making it conditional, It's never going to be quite what you want, and you may not even get it. That's the crazy thing. The crazy thing to me is when I think just purely about my physical body transformation that I've been going through is as of today, I've released 29 pounds. Now it varies. Super fun to weigh yourself every day because sometimes you go down so fast, you're like, oh my God, is my body dying? What's happening? And then you climb back up the scale and you're like, well, that's super fun. Now I'm 5 pounds heavier again than I was from there. Awesome. And I've had to learn to let go of what that means. I've also had to learn to let go of what it means when weight is cascading off. But before I got to that part, what really drove me, what was the driving force behind wanting to release the weight, was actually not about the weight itself. It was actually about becoming who I knew I already was, or could be, who I was deep down, who I am deep down. I'm not quite sure what tense to use. Is it present tense, future tense, past tense? So my friend who's been on the journey with me asked me, we were out for a dinner a week or two ago. And my friend says, how does it feel? You know, you're down, you've almost released 30 pounds. Like, how do you feel? And I said, you know, she's like, are you excited? I said, I mean, yeah, but it's not excitement so much. I said, I feel like I'm coming home. We both got weepy. And we're like, okay, we're not crying. We're out for dinner. My boyfriend had just gone to the bathroom for a hot minute. Imagine he comes back and the two of us are sobbing our eyes out. But it really struck my friend, and she mentioned it to me again a little while later. She's like, that was so powerful. And it gets me misty-eyed as well thinking about it, because the truth is, I have been carrying this weight as a way of trying to protect myself and trying to fit in. Years ago, when my life completely fell apart, completely fell apart. I think I've talked about this before, but I lost my job. I had to give up my apartment. My boyfriend dumped. I was a great country song. My boyfriend dumped me. I had to move in with my mom. My mom kicked me out of the house after 6 weeks. It was just everything that you could think of fell apart. I had to move away from the city where I had been building my life for the 8 years. So now I was 2.5 hours away. So none of my friends were really that close by. And I couldn't go to the gym anymore because, of course, that was in the city that I used to live in. And I started running and running and running and running. And I hated running up until that point, but I had to do something. I had to do some kind of physical form of exercise because I was going crazy. And I had to let this energy out. And over time, really with no intention whatsoever, I released a phenomenal amount of weight. So we come up to my sister's wedding, which is in the fall. We're buying dresses for the wedding. And I fit a size 6 dress, which I've never in my life fit before. And I'm like, okay, this is kind of weird. Not used to this. Don't know what to do. But in the dressing room, I've always had challenging relationships with my family, and I've never really fit in, and I've always struggled with that. So here I am in the change room. I'm now the most slender of my 2 sisters. My sister, who is about to get married, I think has always struggled with that. And she says to me with disgust in her face, you better not look better than me on my wedding day. And I remember being like, I think I said to her, I'm like, I don't think that's possible. You're the one in the wedding dress. I'm just in the background. Nobody's really paying attention to me, right? It's your day. It was such an illogical thing to me. But years later, as I was on this journey of the radical self-love and starting to understand the weight and wanting to release it, I realized that in that moment, what I heard was, it's not okay for you to be this particular physical shape. You need to be heavier so that you are acceptable to us. And only if you are carrying extra weight are you acceptable to us. Because nobody in my family is crazy overweight, but my family has struggled with bouncing around on weight. So coming home, this idea of coming home is really me returning to the true form of who I am and not needing to hide behind a mask in order to be acceptable. Not needing to, carry literal extra weight in order to be accepted and loved and some measure of normal to the people around me. And it's so funny because my life was miserable when I was down to that size 6 dress. And over the last few years, I've thought, boy, I really would like to get to that size again. But man, I don't want to go through the pain and heartache that I was in at the time. And I had to unpack the two from one another, right? That took some healing as well. But what is it that you are holding on to as a mask, but that really sits against the desire of who you really are? And how can you begin to let go of needing to please others, needing to be an acceptable version of yourself so that others are okay with you? How can you let go of that need so that you can become who you really are meant to be? And you're going to lose things along the way. You'll lose some relationships along the way, and you'll lose some physical things in your life along the way. And that used to terrify me. Used to feel so depressing to me, but I don't want to lose this person in my life. But what's amazing is that as you allow yourself to grow and as you allow yourself to move through it, the people and the things that fall away from your life, you're actually okay with letting them go. And you likely won't look back at that and go, man, I really wish that person was still in my life. You likely will look back and say, I'm really glad that I shared the journey for a while with that person or with that thing. And what's really cool, this is what often isn't talked about, because it's always the idea of you have to be willing to sacrifice, which again, terrified the fuck out of me. I don't want to sacrifice more things, please and thank you. But what's really cool is that along the way is that as you become who you really are, you will actually build deeper, more lasting, and more fulfilling connections with the people who align with who you are. And you'll feel even more supported because you now no longer have the fear of, what if they don't like who I am? Because they will see you for who you are. They'll admire and respect you for who you are. They'll support you along the way. And that might be people who are in your life right now, or it might be people you haven't met yet. But as long as you're standing in fear of what you might have to let go in order to allow that authentic version of you to manifest into your life, you're actually staying in a lie because it's not who you're meant to be. And it's actually doing a disservice to the world around you. And that's it. I'm going to head off and get some groceries. It's 10:41. I'm going with unwashed hair. Probably just pull on my running pants because I just want to get some things done. Highly recommend the book if you're interested at all in learning about yourself. And the subtitle to the book for the Mountain Is You is Transforming Self-Sabotage into Self-Mastery. The wisdom that is included in this book is absolutely dumbfounding to me. You will read it when you're ready for it, because it's a pretty powerful book, and I don't think that I would have been fully ready for it before now when I'm reading it. I believe in perfect divine timing. I think I always have, and that just keeps being strengthened as I grow and move on my journey. I thank you for listening if you've made it all the way to now, and I know it's been a bit of a wandering message, but I hope that you gain some value out of this episode. If you have, I would really love if you share it out. Put a post on Instagram or Facebook or whatever social media version thing you use. Put it as a tagline to your email. Send it out as text messages to your friends. I'd love to help build some awareness of the podcast and just get the message out to more folks, because I think that if we can stand bravely in who we are, my hope is that more people will learn to stand bravely in who they are, which is what actually will make the world such a better, more joyful and fulfilling place to be. Tag me if you do post on Instagram. You'll find me at I Dare to Begin, all one word. And I wish you an amazing day, an amazing weekend, if you happen to be listening to this on Friday. Thanks for listening. Talk to you soon. Bye.